Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make videos for NBA DFS content, prize picks content. All these videos, they get posted on this Saturday. I'll have it linked down below. Give you updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day, what that changes for the slate. You can ask me questions about the slate. All the good stuff will be linked down below. If you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right there. Yeah, other people post content on this subreddit too, so it's a really great place to be. We got scratch offs, amazing. I don't know, I forget I don't know who this is, but amazing. Love it. But yeah, people post content there. It's just a really great place to be. My post will be linked down in the comments. So good day overall for me. Went light. It was a 2-game slate. Hopefully you guys enjoyed MLB. I didn't play MLB today, but I did play the night slate. And I faded Shane Bieber, so that's not going great. But yeah, I felt like I played this slate pretty good, right? I wanted absolutely nothing to do with the chalk value today. Vit Krejci. I told everyone in Discord, I wanted 0 Vit Krejci. I didn't want to play Najee Marshall was the value, chalk value out of like this grouping I'm about to say that I was more okay with. But even then, I didn't really want Najee Marshall. I didn't want Jordan Hawkins. I'm sure there's more chalk I just wanted absolutely nothing to do with. So I told everyone my favorite values today were Jonas Valanciunas, Larry Nance, and Bruno Fernando. Those guys all ended up having pretty solid games. So yeah, it worked out massive. Just going more mid-range, not playing that disgusting chalk value. If Zion and Middleton had better games, who knows what could have happened. Optimal lineup won today in single entry. Just full mid-range build. Won it. So yeah, big train here, big train. So yeah, solid night overall for me. Hopefully you guys had a great night, and let's keep it moving for this big slate for tomorrow. All right, so let's get into the slate. Detroit at Washington. Cade Cunningham is questionable. Jaden Ivey is also questionable. If they're both out, there's going to be a lot to like here going up against Washington. First off, we're going to have to see what they do with the starting lineup. I would assume it'd be like Marcus Sasser, Jalen Duren, Troy Brown Jr., Metu, Tosan would be something like my guess, but there'll be a lot to like here. First off, I would absolutely love Sasser. I would really like Metu. Tosan would be playable. I mean, Tosan, Troy Brown, they're very, very loose guys, but they'd be actually playable. Duren in a really good spot going up against Washington. His rates don't really change with everyone off, but like him. What else? Metu, I think I already said. Sasser, Metu would be 2 of the better value plays on the slate. Would really like them. And then Malachi Flynn would be firmly in play at 3.6K. He'd have to get a bit more run. So there'd be a ton to like here on this Detroit team if they're both out. If we get them both in, and they're not on limits, which I wouldn't expect them to be. I mean, I would like Cade. I would like Ivy. Durham would still be solid. I probably wouldn't get to this value though. Tosan's been starting. It's fine. I guess we'll see what they do with the starting lineup. Last game they did start Metu. So I'll make updates on Reddit when we do get starting lineups. I believe Ivy was the one out last game. Yeah, he was out. They actually went with the starting lineup. So if Cade's in and Ivy's out, they go with that same starting lineup of Cade, Duren, Sasser, Metu, Tosan, I believe it was. Then I really like Metu for value. Tosan's playable. Cade looks solid. Duren is firmly in play. And then Sasser, I like quite a bit. And then, like I said, if they're both out, there will be a lot to like here. Moving on to Washington. So good amount to like here, in my opinion, going up against Detroit. Really good spot here. They're running a tight rotation. We do have Holmes out, so I expect Bagley to start. I expect him to play a decent amount of minutes here. I really like him at 4.8K. Kispert is a solid play at 5.4K. He's going to play a ton of minutes. Jordan Poole, Denny, Kuzma, all very solid plays in the mid-range. Have interest in all 3 of these guys. So this first game definitely looks like a game you're probably going to have some interest in. Bagley just looks great. I would assume he'd have to just play a decent amount here, right? So yeah, this game definitely looks solid. I'll make updates when we do get some news. Lakers, keep it on. Someone's going to rest the first game, so we should get this news. But if they're both in, I mean, AD should be able to feast in this front court at 10.4K. Looking at the spend plus slate, you have a decent amount. Jokic could be out. You have Wemby, who's fine. But AD, I think, looks really solid. Probably my favorite upper echelon spend up on the slate. LeBron James is solid too, but I think I prefer getting to like Anthony Davis. Reeves, D'Lo, they're both priced right. Rui would be overpriced if they're in. I don't know if I get to much else, but if we get like 80 out again, then I absolutely love LeBron at 10.3K. Reeves, D'Lo would be solid place. Jackson Hayes would be a really good value at 4.7K. He just have to play a ton of minutes with no Christian Wood on this team, or Christian Wood out. I guess they could play some Braun or Rui at the 5, but Rui at 5.9K, he had a huge game. I'd like him quite a bit. Like I said, D'Lo, Reeves would both be solid. Dinwiddie would be playable at least at 4.8K, and then yeah, I'd really like Jackson Hayes. Prince, viable value as well. Then if they're both out, we know what to do. Like Reeves, D'Lo, Rui, Dinwiddie, Hayes, like everyone would look great here. So I'm going to fly right through these games because it's a bigger slate. I'm not going to do too much analysis here. So I'm going to go through them quick. Halliburton, sub 9K, going up against the Lakers. If he's not going to be owned tomorrow, I'm probably going to play him. I like him quite a bit in GPPs. Go-to guy, phenomenal matchup up against the Lakers. So, like Halliburton there. Siakam's been more consistent of late. If you want to go to Siakam over Halliburton, that's fine. But I think personally, I prefer going up to Halliburton. Miles Turner should play around 30 minutes. If he doesn't get into foul trouble, just there for me. Decent option. And then Neesmith at 4.9K, I think is a solid value with no Mathurin. He has to play decent minutes. And then you have your like grouping of T.D. McConnell, Nembhard, who are both large field viable values if you need it. But I think they're kind of getting to the price points to where they should be. Moving on to the Warriors, keep an eye on Jonathan Kuminga. If he is out, you got Trace Jackson Davis in the starting lineup last game. Draymond got ejected, nothing new there. But if Trace does start, I think he's a good point per dollar play at 5.5K. She'll play high 20s minutes, about a fantasy point per minute guy, maybe a bit more if I recall correctly. Good matchup up against Charlotte, so he'd be a decent point per dollar play. I kind of like the price point here on Steph Curry at 8.4K, which means I'm probably going to get absolutely hurt by him. But 8.4K Steph Curry going up against Charlotte, I think is very, very intriguing. So I like Steph there quite a bit. Draymond Green at 6K, if Kuminga's out, probably could play a bit more. Interested there, but always the chance of getting ejected. Klay Thompson's just there for me. He has a ceiling. It's like okay in GPPs. And then if Trace starts for Kuminga, I like Kuminga. Or Trace, I like Trace. And then Wiggins, if Kuminga's out, probably going to have to play a decent amount. Now, definitely got helped with the Draymond ejection last game, but 5K. Definitely my favorite value play on this team. Chris Paul, Pods, they're just there for me. I think I'd rather play like Andrew Wiggins. So, yeah, keep it on the Kuminga news. Could open up some stuff. Kuminga's in. Draymond's just there for me. Kuminga's fine. I still do like Steph quite a bit. Trace will probably be priced right. Still have interest in Wiggins. And then Chris Paul, Pods, they're just kind of there for me. Moving on to Charlotte. So, Bertans probable. I mean, Miles Bridges has just been god-awful. It's crazy seeing his price point down to 7.8K, but in a competitive game, they are playing their guys huge minutes, so I still have some interest here in Miles Bridges, still some interest in Brandon Miller. Messaging me. I think they're okay contrarian plays. I prefer Miles straight up. Miller might be a bit easier to get to point per dollar. I do like Mitchich, though, at 5.2K. I think the price point is just a little bit too cheap at this price point. You know, him, man, they're going to do all the ball handling duties. I think it's a bit easier to get to Mitchich at his price point. I think they're both okay options, but I prefer Mitchich. Grant Williams, Poku, they're going to be in the rotation. Grant, I believe, had a big game last game. Don't think I'm going to go to these guys. I think better value will open up, but they're playable. Was Bertans out last game, actually? 327. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. All right, let's move on to the Clippers. This is probably one of my least favorite games to target on the slate. Two good defensive teams, two teams that play slow. I don't really like anything here. You guys know my drill with the main three. They're all in play. Nothing stands out. I think Zubac at 5.6K is okay. Don't love it. Everyone else, I mean, you have Westbrook at 4.8K, who should see high teens minutes, but pretty rough sledding there for the Clips. Let's move on to Orlando. I don't like anything here either. You have Gary Harris back. It's going to be a downgrade to Cole Anthony, although I will say Cole Anthony's minutes have been on an uptrend of late. So if you want to like pray that he plays over 20, 22, 23 minutes, which I think he probably will. He's been playing really well of late. I guess he's okay. He's probably my favorite play on this Orlando team. Isaac at 4K, he's been seeing over 20 minutes consistently of late. He's a really good point per minute guy. I don't mind him for value. So I think my favorite plays in this team are probably the value in Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac. Fultz, no thank you. Wonder Card Jr. should see high 20s minutes. Just there for me. So, yeah, pretty unappealing game if you had to ask me. And now we get to another pretty unappealing team, if you ask me. Chicago, they're going to be fully healthy here. Don't love the spot going up against Brooklyn, but like DeMar, Vooch, Kobe White, everyone's just priced up and healthy. If I had to play anyone here, probably would be DeMar DeRozan or Kobe White, but I think Ayo, Caruso, they're both priced right, maybe a bit overpriced. I'm not going to touch this value, so yeah, there's just not much. I'm okay with DeMar and Vooch and GPPs, Kobe White as well. Now we get to a guy that I like quite a bit in GPPs. I know it's not the best matchup, but they are running Nicholas Claxton into the ground right now. I don't know if we can continue to expect high 30s minutes from him, but if we get over his normal threshold of like 30 minutes, like 32, 33 minutes, that's going to be a significant bump for him. So if you want to keep riding the hot streak with his minutes, I don't hate it. Good point per minute guy, double-double upside. Not the best matchup going up against Chicago, but if he's going to get high 30s minutes, he's too cheap at 6.7K. So I'm intrigued there by Claxton. Cam Thomas, you guys always know I like as a ceiling play in GPPs. I think people are going to be scared away because of the matchup. So like Cam Thomas and GPPs, definitely prefer him to Mikal Bridges. Mikal finally has a good game when Cam Thomas is back. Just absolutely wild. Shorter at 6.2K, just there for me. Very, very safe. She'll play big minutes, just fine. Fine as like a filler piece. Dorian Finney-Smith with no Cam Johnson, I think is an okay value play. Not going to be the highest usage guy out there, but will play decent minutes with no Cam Johnson. I don't know if I get to much else here. Desmond Jr. is probable. Pretty disgusting. All right, now we get to another team that I don't have too much interest here. This slate's pretty gross, guys. I'm intrigued by Maxey. Just really tough matchup, slow-paced game. Cleveland, they play slow. If they keep it competitive, it's probably going to be a big game for Tyrese Maxey. It's like, he's their go-to guy. He's stuffing his stat sheet. I'm okay with it in large field GPPs. I don't know if I'm going to go out of my way to play him in single entry. Tobias Harris, I think, is overpriced, in my opinion. I'd much rather at that point get up to like Tyrese Maxey. Kelly Oubre is priced right. The bigs, they're kind of splitting the center minutes. They don't really stand out to me. I'm not going to touch this value either. So it's pretty gross, man. Pretty gross. All right, let's move on to Cleveland. So we could have Donovan Mitchell back here, and we have Darius Garland probable. So if Mitchell's back, it's probably going to take me off almost everyone here. I think Garland would be priced right. The bigs would be priced right. Mobley's been on the limit. Wouldn't even get to this value here. So keep an eye on that. If Mitchell's out, then you could still get to like Garland, DeVert. Mobley's minutes did go up last game. I don't believe that went to overtime. It didn't. Play 31 in regulation last game. If he is going to play 30 minutes, have some interest. But Allen, I think, is priced right. Mobley's just there for me. Garland, DeVert, they're playable, but not standouts in this matchup. Strus at 5.5K is also back. He played, 24 minutes in his first game back. Just not much here. How much did LeVert play? Yeah, it's pretty gross, guys. Pretty gross. Let's just move on to the next game. Now we get into some games that look a bit better here, in my opinion. And what are they going to price up these days? I mean, they priced up Dante a little bit, but I still like these guys, right? They're playing in blowouts. They're playing 40 minutes a game. They're playing 45 minutes in competitive games. They're reaching 35 minutes in blowouts. Miles McBride is reaching over 40 minutes in blowouts. So I don't know how you don't have interest in this team, even at these price points, in a phenomenal matchup. So with that being said, Brunson, he will not get any minutes in a blowout. They're kind of taking it easy there. But if the game does stay competitive, he will play high 30s minutes. I'm really, really high on Brunson at 9.2K. I think Hart, Dante are still solid options with the amount of minutes they're playing of late. Hart, probably safer. Dante probably has the higher ceiling when he's hitting his shots. And then Miles McBride, I think, is very, very safe. I still think he's a solid play, even at 5.8K. He's just playing huge minutes right now. When you have a guy that's going to be on the court for the entire game, you have to have interest. Hart, we do have Mitchell Robinson back. Good to see him back. That's going to take Hartenstein out of play for me. Precious Achiuwa has gotten good minutes off the bench of late. If you want to take a dart there, that's okay. But let's move on to the Spurs. Keldon Johnson is questionable. If he's out, you're going to get more solidified minutes for Justin Champagnie. He'd be at playable value. And you'll probably see a bit more of like Chetty Osman, Malachi Branham. I think I prefer just like Justin at that point. And then you'll see bumps to the main guys. They'll just run a really tight rotation here. So you'll see huge minutes for Sochan, Vassell, Trey Jones. They'll all just play big minutes. Sochan, 36 last game. Vassell, he's been already playing big minutes, 39 in a competitive game. I believe Jones played over 30. Yep. Not the best matchup going up against the Knicks. I guess I have some interest in Wembanyama at 10.68 just because he's matchup proof. He can get you a double-double with like 6 blocks and a steal pretty much any single night. So like, still some interest in Wemby. I still think he's a solid spend up. Getting to anyone else here, I don't think I'm going to prioritize anyone, especially if Keldon's in. If Keldon's in, I think everyone's priced right. If Keldon's out, I guess I could consider Sochan at 6.2K. It's going to have to play big minutes, and like Justin Champagnie at 3.9K would be a viable value, but I wouldn't touch him if Sochan's in. Moving on to the Suns. So if Nurkic is out, you're going to get Drew Eubanks in the starting lineup. Now, I'm very, very scared here by Drew Eubanks. Last game he closed because I believe it was up against Jokic. Now they're going up against a team in OKC where I think the Suns could close small. I guess it's a possibility. But Drew Eubanks should, if Nurkic out, start and play over 20 minutes, which is going to make him a good value. So would like Eubanks if Nurkic out and he starts, which I would expect him to. Then if you go with that like closing small narrative, it's going to be one of Royce O'Neal or Eric Gordon in the starting lineup. I think Eric Gordon's probably a bit better than Royce O'Neal. If you go with that narrative, they would both be in play regardless, but one of them could close. Just thought I mentioned that there. Even if he's out, I don't like the price point on Grayson. I think Beal at 6.8K does seem a bit too cheap, so I don't mind Beal. I think he's okay. And then Booker, Kevin Durant are solid. If Nurk is in, I'm not going to touch the value, and it doesn't really change too much of the other guys. So, all right, let's move on to OKC. So SGA is doubtful. I mean, it's hard not to go back to the Thunder here. I think Giddey looks phenomenal. I think Jalen Williams looks great once again. Chet is firmly in play. Lou Dort is a solid value at 4.5K. Cason Wallace is firmly in play at 4.2K. Isaiah Joe is firmly in play at 3.7K, but he had a big game last game. He got extended. Chet got into foul trouble. He fouled out. If everyone is going to click on Isaiah Joe tomorrow, and he is really popular, that is someone I'm just not going to play in GPPs tomorrow. So that's going to be an ownership thing for me. I believe Gordon Hayward had a big game. He had an okay game, but I think I'd rather just go to like Joe or Cason at that point. But good amount to like here with OKC with SGA out. Now we're getting into Portland. So Ayton is questionable. Jeremy Grant is doubtful. Tumani Kamara is out. If we get everyone out here, who do they start? Do they start Jabari Walker? Do they go Scoot, Reith, Chris, Walker, Rupert? Do they do that? Or do they go double guards? Start like Scoot, Banton, Murray? That'd be a weird lineup. Either way, if everyone's out, love Scoot at 6.4K. I know it's a really treacherous matchup here going up against Miami, but really like Scoot. Bant would be a very solid option. Duop Reith would be a solid value at 5.2K. Chris Murray would be firmly in play. He'd have to play a ton with Kamara out. Jabari Walker's probably going to have to play a bit more. I'd like him quite a bit. Rupert, it's disgusting, but playable. And I think that's it. And then if Ayton's in, probably takes me off the bigs. If Thybulle's in, it's going to make Banton a bit riskier. I'd still like Scoot. And then Chris Murray is still going to have to play a decent amount. And with Kamara, you could see a bit more Jabari Walker. But with Ayton in, a lot riskier. Moving on to Miami, Butler's going to be back. Phenomenal matchup here. I don't see how Bam Adebayo just doesn't smash tomorrow. I like Bam Adebayo quite a bit in GPP tomorrow. I think Butler's solid as well. I think they're both decent options if you think Portland does keep this game competitive. I think Rozier's just there for me. This grouping of like Jamie, Caleb, Jovic, they all look similar to me. I prefer Jamie probably straight up, but they're all kind of similar to that Warriors value and like Podziemski, Chris Paul, etc. So I'm not going to play Patty Mills, and yeah, I think the main interest here is Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Minnesota, tough matchup here going up against Denver. We have Ant and Rudy Gobert questionable. I do expect both to play. They've been playing every single day, so Ant's a good sped up. I think Rudy Gobert, they're going to need him out there. He's going to play 40 minutes in a close game as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I like him in GPPs. Everyone else seems priced right. They've been starting Nas. If he continues to start, I like his ceiling. Mike Conley priced right. Kyle Anderson, playable. Should see low 20s minutes off the bench. He's getting some backup 5 run right now. McDaniels, same thing, kind of playable. Don't love much else. And if they're both out, you guys know what to do. Fire up NAW, fire up Nas Reed, fire up Kyle Anderson. Mike Conley would look good, etc., etc., etc. Moving on to Denver, late game, most important news of the night. Jamal Murray Nikola Jokic, both questionable. If they're both out, you're going to get a starting lineup of Reggie Jackson, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., DeAndre Jordan. If that's the case, Reggie Jackson looks phenomenal at 5.3K. Aaron Gordon becomes one of the best mid-range plays in the slate, even in the toughest matchup you could possibly go up against. Michael Porter Jr., he gets worse with everyone out, which is treacherous, but playable. KCP be playable. DeAndre Jordan I'd like quite a bit. Even these value plays, you'll see a bit more like Braun, Watson, Gillespie even in play. So ton to like here if they're both out, even in this matchup. But if they're both in, then I have some interest in Jokic. Murray's fine. I don't think I get to the values. So hopefully you guys had a great night tonight, and I will talk to y'all in the next video.